We don't know the hour or the day. Time is such a gift, try and control your destiny. We don't know the hour or the day. Unity is strength, let's stand as one without delay. Cause no bad vibe, me a Chant. Me no want no bad vibe, me a Chant. I just peace the times all around, yeah. No bad vibe, me a Chant. No bad vibe, me a Chant. Say me no want no bad vibe, me a Chant. I just peace the time all around, yeah. No bad vibe, me a Chant.
What's up, everybody? How you guys doing? Welcome to another episode of Death Taught Us How to Live. This is the show that we talk about how people come from a near-death experience and transform their life for the better. You know, all these people that come onto the show have a story to tell, and their stories are all unique. And today we have nobody other than a great person that doesn't want to hold back anything that he has. He want to give you everything so you could be a better person and teach you how Death taught him how to live so you can live as well. So I'm going to introduce to you my friend, my guest, the great Robert Brady Johnson. How you doing today, sir?
I am doing so great. I'm having the most beautiful Thursday of the week.
Lovely. I'm glad to hear that. So I know you're pretty coy, but I don't know if you are coy or not. You're outspoken. You have a great attitude, and it shines all over the place. But before we get into our interview, can you please tell us who you are? What is your story, so we can understand why Death taught you how to live?
Well, I am a person that smiles all the time. I had a mother that was a college professor, and she's retired and teacher, high school teacher. And my mother always had me laughing growing up as a kid. And growing up, I played baseball. I was a Pepsi generation singer. Us and Michael Jackson were the only two sponsored by Pepsi-Cola in the world. So I sang, and then I played baseball. And I went and played baseball, was invited to work out for the White Sox coming out of high school. But I was 17, and when your mother's a college professor, you knew that you were going to college. That wasn't the route I was going to get to go. So I went and played baseball at University of Louisville. And after that, I joined the United States Air Force. And at the age of 31 years old, I ran marathons when I was in the Air Force. That was my getaway. I run 6 miles the morning and just happened to pass by doctor hospital because I'd been having a headache for 3 months. And I got sent to another hospital where they found out. And in my uniform, they said, "How do we say this militarily? Houston, we have a problem." So at that point, they put me in a surgery about a week later. And during surgery for an AVM, cardiovascular malformation, I had a massive stroke. And they told my family to speak clearly again because I had aphasia. I'd never walk without aid. I'd never get the opportunity to read or write because my eyes had crossed during surgery, and that I'd never go back to work. And then the doctor threw in there, and with you taking 43 medicines, chances are you'll never be able to make children. Well, post then, I went back to work at Social Security. I retired. I now am, even though I cannot feel the right side of my body, I am the only 50% disabled bodybuilder in the world that competes with everybody else. And I run 5Ks and 10Ks, so I can walk also. And as you see, I can talk. And I've written a book called A Life of Commas, A Soldier's Story.
Robert, you said a lot, and I'm not gonna let you just breeze over this part that I have made into the title right here, hemorrhaging for 3 months. I'm very flabbergasted by this. I made a promo earlier today about your story. I said, you need to Google this man because his story is unbelievable. So you're telling me for 3 months you was hemorrhaging in your brain and you actually survived. Can we talk about that? Tell us what
Yeah,
was going on at that particular time, sir.
that was the hardest point in my life. I've been a sports agent dealing with NFL and NBA players. I had two Harlem Globetrotters. I was involved with 22 NFL ball players, had one Canadian Football League player. While I was in the military, while I was in the Air Force, I had my own company. So we had Afghanistan going. I'd gotten a divorce. I got transferred to another state. I closed my company. So I thought all of those were just because were causing my head pain. So even though I ran 6 to 10 to 15 miles a day, um, I I had been bleeding. I thought that the pain, the extreme pain, was just because of all of those things. So instead of me going to a doctor, I basically just acted like I was a doctor.
Okay, hold on. So you was having this extreme pain and you just was acting like your own doctor. You didn't go see anybody, and then all of a sudden you did. But before we go into that part, you know, you was hemorrhaging in your brain. You was basically having a stroke for 3 months and you're
Yeah,
surviving. I never even heard of anything like that because I know there is the acronym called Be Fast. You have to be fast to act if you're having a brain bleed or any type of stroke. So
correct.
by this happening to you, what was the doctor saying to you or to your family when this was going on with you?
Uh, when they found out that I was bleeding, they wanted to take me into emergency surgery because they said that we don't know what's going to happen. You've been bleeding, and that pressure, all of that pressure and blood that's in your head, we don't understand how you've survived. So um, they took me into surgery, and they told my family, we don't know what's going to happen if there's going to be a post surgery. We don't know what his life is going to be like, if he's going to have a life, uh, because we have never dealt with somebody who's bled for 3 months and continuously uh, was active. So we don't know what's going to happen.
Okay, okay. I don't know how to even take anything that you're saying right now because it sounds so far fetched, but obviously it's a reality. But you said earlier that you're the only one in the world that is 50% disabled and is a bodybuilder. You know,
Correct.
can you talk about that part right there from being that stroke survivor and everybody thinking, what is going on? I never seen this before. Most likely probably think that you're gonna die or become a vegetable. Then all of a sudden you are a bodybuilder. Can you talk about the mentality that you actually had to actually do that, even though half of your body you can't feel?
Well, actually, it's funny um, because my mother, being a college English professor, there was a story. This is a true story. I was about 11 or 12, and my mother had all these freshman comps in front of her, freshman papers. And so one day I was looking over her shoulder and I said, Mom, why does this student have periods all over their paper? It was, my name is Tom, period. I'm from Texas, period. I'm going to be a doctor, period. And my mother said, baby, it's because they've only been taught how to end the sentence, but they've never been taught the gift of a comma, which means it goes on. Forward, way forward to that. When I had my stroke, um, I couldn't talk. And I was in front of my grandmother. I was laying on the bed, and my grandmother, who's passed away, 4'9", she was rubbing my right hand, which is a side that I cannot feel. And I remember I said that I was able to say 2 words, and they were, why me? My grandmother looked back at me and she said, baby, why not you? And later my mother said, this is just another comma, baby, just another comma. And I put that comma mentality into my life. If I fall, I'm going to get up comma. Today, I'm sleepy, but if I wake up tomorrow, I have tomorrow to do this, comma. And that's what I took in. I took in the comma mentality. And that helped me come from somebody that was in a wheelchair to walking with a cane for 2 years to I was in a coma first and then coma at ICU, of course, to the floor where I did rehab, then in the wheelchair, then you know, it was all about commas. My mother continuously reminded me that it's all about commas, baby. You're not in this wheelchair, period. You're in a comma. Work like it's a comma.
I get that. So when you speak to people, because I see that you do a lot of activism in the stroke survivor community. You work with the American Heart Association and also the American Stroke Association, and you talk with them. So what is your message for people that had a stroke, has a difficult time feeling some parts of their body or no parts of their body? What is that, thing that you're saying to them? Or are you telling them the commas as well? And how can they find their commas instead of saying this is the end?
It's about finding your comma. Actually, me, I was a runner. When I played college baseball, I was a base stealer. And I ran marathons in the Air Force. Well, as you know, post-stroke, there was no running going on. As I tell people now, I'm not going to run like I'm chasing you, okay? Because I can't chase you. But I wanted to do something to activate my life. I did not feel that the end was sitting on a sofa. So one day I made some calls and I'd asked somebody, I asked the doctor, I said, is it possible that I can lift weights? His answer to me was, well, I'm scared because if you cannot feel from the top of your head to the bottom of your foot, I'm scared that if your hand releases the weight and you drop it on your foot and break your toes, you don't know. Or if you have problem with your hand, it's going to be hurt, it's going to be broken without you knowing. But it was that comma again. And I tell people that I speak to and with to know that this was just a comma. This is the start of your book. This is the beginning of something special. The Mayo Clinic calls me the freak because they said they never seen me before. And I tell people, I want you to be the next me. I want you to be better than me.
Yeah, I got to slow you down because I did a lot of research and you pulling up stuff that I was researching on your actual background. So I got to stop you sometime because you just went all the way into my next part of my question. All right. Why did they call you the freak? What's the story behind that? I want to know what this Mayo Clinic and why that is such a profound name for you. And before you even go into that, I have people listening, and I have the question come to me all the time about, Greg, how did you able to walk again? How did you get past this stuff? I'm hearing you talking about this comma thing, and I hear that you have, this great motivation of your grandmother and also your mother moving you forward. You had that motivation, you had that inspiration, but you're being a little bit coy with how you got to this next spot. There was something within you that made you be this person that you are today. What was that was inside of you? Was it something physical, something mental? Your military background. What was it that said, okay, I'm gonna be that next person? And that's why the doctors called me the freak.
Well, actually, it all came. I'm a devout Christian. As a matter of fact, I am somebody that prays daily throughout the day. And I put the comma and the prayer together along with military. I told myself, this is basic training. That's what this is. This is basic training of life. Just like when you had basic training in the United States Air Force and in what we call tech school, where you can learn your job for the United States Air Force, I said, these are those times. And I have to find me in this time. And I still get extreme headaches because post-stroke, my scar tissue rubs on my brain. I was in the emergency room 2 weeks ago. They still haven't figured this out. And the Mayo Clinic has told me that they've never seen something like this that has lived as long as you have. This is my 20th year. So I got to the Mayo Clinic and I was telling them that I'm active and that I stretch and that I work out. And I did 5 push-ups on the ground. And the doctor went and got all the other doctors on the whole floor. So there are 25 doctors, and I did 20 more push-ups, even though I cannot feel the right side of my body. And they said, "How'd you do that?" And I said, "A little faith, a lot of struggle, and a lot of getting through it." And a doctor yelled out, "You are the freak."
I get it. I get it. So I'm hearing a lot of things right now, and I'm trying to put everything together. I'm hearing that you're very strong in your faith. You're motivated by your mother and your grandmother.
Yes.
Plus, you're very athletic. Now,
Yes.
let's talk about this athletic part, because I know for me, when I started to do my rehab, I couldn't walk either, and I used to act like I was doing basketball moves. And those basketball moves was like, okay, I got to get low. I got to have my pivot and all these things. I was just thinking this through, and that helped me to walk again. Did you have something like that? Was there something that was major within you that said, okay, I need to do this in order for me to walk? And if so, what was that?
It was basic training. In the military, you have week 0. That's your first week, is usually on a Thursday for basic training. And everybody's yelling at you and everybody's screaming at you and everything that you do is wrong. Well, for me, my week 0 lasted for about 3 months. I couldn't walk right. I was limping. I was leaning. So I said, this is that week 0. So you've done nothing. And I said, next week is week 1. And from that point, I said, just like on a baseball field, you have to be equal so you can get the ball and so you can throw it one way or another. When you're running, you must eye the ball and figure out if you're running backwards or forward. And I said, these are things that I'm going to use. So that's what I did. I would simulate in my room or downstairs that I'm playing baseball. And then once I found weights, I would start with my good hand, quote unquote, my left side, and I would do curls. And then I would take the other hand and I'd mimic what I just saw. And that's what I did on all of the right side of my body. Just mimicked all the way through.
I get that too. I get that too. So for the people that's watching and they want to walk, they want to do those push-ups, they want to do those things, and they probably can't feel parts of their body. What do you recommend them to do? And let's hold back, because we're not doctors here. I'm just saying, from your personal experience, what was that thing for you? For me, I knew what I can do. Even though the doctor is saying that you need to be doing this for a certain amount of time, you need to be in rehab a certain time, I knew when I was ready to walk. I knew that. And nobody could tell me differently. Now, do you have something that you want to tell people for themselves, whatever that is? Like you said, that week 1, week 2, whatever that is, what is that thing that they should know within themselves that they're ready to do that next step?
I think it's basically being like a kid. We're an adult for such a long time. We're a short kid for a short term. But I tell people, some of the biggest things that I learned were from my kids, because I watched my kids walking. I watched them after they were birthed and how they reached for a cup and so I followed them because I was a kid again on the right side of my body. And that's the way I looked at myself, and I did that. And just like with aphasia, I was not able to talk. Well, I was a Pepsi singer, so I can sing. So in my mind, what I did was I pulled songs that I knew the words to. Of course, mine were, Michael Jackson, mine were Boys to Men, mine were, but some people may even just singing over and over Merry Christmas or Happy Birthday, because those are things that we can remember and go and remember what those songs sounded like.
So go back to your core, your essence of who you are can help you with your recovery. Is that what you're telling us?
Every day, every day,
Okay.
every day.
All right. So you brought up singing. Now, is there something that was special with you with singing and helping you walk that you would like to bring to the forefront? I know there was a certain type of date. I think it was July 8th, 2005, that you was
Yes,
actually preparing for. Now, was that
yes.
some kind of preparation you was doing with singing and walking, and why was that particular date important to you?
Well, my goal, I'd asked my wife to marry me 3 months before my stroke. And we pushed it back a year because I told my wife I am going to walk down the aisle. And my favorite song, her favorite song for me to sing to her was Ribbon in the Sky by the group Intro, the remake of Stevie Wonder's Ribbon in the Sky. So I played with both of those. I put the cane down, or I'd pick it up and I'd walk 4 steps. I'd put it back down. And actually, it's funny because I kind of use the military, because I tell myself left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right. And I think about that as I was going to walk down the aisle. And I sung the song Ribbon in the Sky probably a million times. And actually, it got me singing, but it got me, they didn't know why, but the doctors said they'd never seen somebody who could sing before he could talk. And that's what I did. But I had a date, July 8th, which is coming up, for our 19th. And I wanted to walk down the aisle without assistance. And I wanted to be able to sing a song.
So Heather, is that her name, Heather?
Yes.
See, I did my homework, sir. See, you gotta let me do my homework. So Heather, thank you so much for helping Robert get to where he needed to be, and that Ribbon in the Sky. I know that was a beautiful song that he sang for you, and he walked down the aisle, probably even did a little two-step for you. But before we go a little bit further, we have comments. So if people want to have any comments on here, please put your comments in, on YouTube, also on Facebook. If you want to say anything to Robert or ask him any questions about his journey, feel free. But I do have one question or comment right now, Robert. So I will
Yes.
read it for you. And if there's a question to it, I'll allow you to respond. But I think it's just a comment. It says, "Our God is awesome. Only He could do all that. Did you get your kids after the stroke?" I guess they're asking if do you have any kids after your stroke?
Yes, both of my children. The doctor said I wouldn't be able to make children. I have 2 children. One is 17. He's all-state soccer player. He's going to play soccer in Wisconsin next year in college. And then I have a 13-year-old senior 13-year-old that I call my munchkin, but actually he's the beast. My wife was an All-American basketball player. So my wife is 6 foot tall. And my son that I call Munchkin, he's 13, but he's taller than me and he outweighs me by 30 pounds.
So I guess you're the munchkin. I don't know what you're talking about, brother.
I am. I am. My other son's 5'9". I am the munchkin in the house.
How tall are
At
you? How
five
tall are
five,
you? You
I'm
what?
5'5". Yes, I am.
5'5"? Wow.
Yes.
Okay. But you're a giant amongst men. I get it. I get it.
Yes.
So Robert, you motivated yourself. You doing these push-ups. Now let's get to the point of, you are using the military and your experience with the military to help you walk again. I did the same thing with being a basketball player / football player. I did that to get me forward. But you said something that was pretty interesting, because I haven't heard anybody say this, but this is what I did too. After my stroke and during my rehab, I lived with my sister, and my sister daughter had a child. So my grandniece was learning how to walk, learning how to talk as well. And I would look at her in awe. I'm like, okay, she doesn't have the same mentality as normal people, because if they fail, they give up. But a little child, they'll bust their butt and get right back up and bust their butt again. I'm like, this is what I need. So who was that child that actually helped you out? Do you have a name for them? And I know for me, that was my occupational therapy, physical therapist right there. Her name is Zuri, my grandniece. She was my occupational therapist, because every time I seen her, I did these things. Did you have that same type of mentality when you saw that little child trying to walk?
That's my soccer star, Braden, who's going to college to play soccer this upcoming year in Wisconsin. He was the one, because we had a child shortly after we got married, about a year and a half. And I still had not gotten sturdy walk. I still walked with a cane. And so I would watch him walk, fall, hit his butt, get up, and keep on going. And I said, you got to have that mentality. Just as you said, you on looking at your grandniece, that was the exact same thing with me and my son. And actually, he was the one who taught me how to walk.
Isn't that amazing? You know, I like the Bible says, out of the mouth of babes, you know, suffer not the little children, because they are the kingdom of God. I get all that. This is why I'm so in awe when I look at people and they get so discouraged by failure, but they completely forget that we all had to learn from somewhere. And the children are so innocent, they don't understand that failure is what people will say is a problem. That's part of the process. So, you know, once you get that in your mind, recovery is pretty much easy. But a lot of people don't have that in mind. They be like, oh, I failed, I suck. And they start saying bad words to themselves. You know, what do you say about that? Even, you know, I know you said you're very spiritual, you're very into your God, but what do you say about speaking negatively to yourself versus speaking positive to yourself? Do you have that type of thing, or you just deal with straight going hard, exercise every day? What is your mindset with that mentality?
I speak truth, and I speak faith, and I speak life into myself. Sometimes you got to be your own best friend. Sometimes you got to be the one that lifts yourself up. Okay. So that was the same thing for me. What I did was I told myself, I'm going to be able to walk from this bed to the restroom. And I would talk my side, my right side. I would talk it into that bathroom. And yes, there were a lot of times when I trip and fall. As a matter of fact, my family started calling me stunt man. And the doctor called me the stunt man because they were worried because I fell a lot. And I told them I'm falling on my left side that I can feel. So they called me the stunt man because they said you trip, you fall, you roll, you get up, and you go chasing whatever. But that's what I did, is I spoke it. Because you speak negative to yourself, you'll begin to believe what you tell yourself. No matter what anybody tells you, you've told yourself and you've believed yourself. And so every day, like when I go, I'm on a stationary bike or on the treadmill for 2 hours a day, hour and a half a day. And then I'm in the gym for an hour and a half lifting weights. And I tell myself when I get down to bench press or to curl, come on, right side, you got this. You got this, baby. It's your day.
I hear you. What is that? And you said it, you know, pretty clearly to me. But for the people that don't understand it, you know, what does speaking negative to yourself versus speaking positive to yourself do to your morale?
It makes you stand up straight. And now this is funny that I say this. It makes you stand up straight. When you tell yourself and you believe I'm beautiful and that God has made me to be where I'm at today, but he hasn't promised me that I'm going to be there tomorrow. I stood up straight. My walk got better. It got pretty. Okay. My walk started to look like everybody else's walk. And this might sound funny to people, but you'll understand. One time, my wife and I were out at a restaurant, and a guy said to me, "Looks like you had a drink too many." And I told my wife, I tapped on his shoulder, and I told the guy, I said, "No, I had brain surgery and a massive stroke. I can't feel the rest of my body, right side of my body. But if all I look is drunk, I'm winning. And that's what I tell myself. Sometimes I laugh at myself.
No, I get it. I get it. And that drunk story too, I get it too, because I came out of a place one time and a police officer pulled me over and was like, "Hey, come here." And I was like, "What's wrong?" He was like, "Oh, you must be drunk." I'm like, "Nah, I had brain surgery." I was like, "Okay, go ahead." But
Yeah.
but that's the thing that happens to us. People don't realize that this is something that is so hard for us to even get up out of bed to actually say, today's a good day. And a lot of people will discourage us and try to make us not be that person that we need to be. Let me ask you something, Robert, before I go into more, because I got some more comments coming in here. Have you ever seen this card before? The brain injury card?
No.
All right, so this is a brain injury card, and on it, it basically says, I'm a brain injury card, is an identification card. I use it every time I go traveling, go to the airport, especially when I go to TSA. It basically tells them exactly what the injuries of a brain injury person has. So I'll read it to you. It says poor coordination, balance and muscle control, blurred speech, vision and impaired hearing, difficulties with attention, concentration, memory, or understanding, difficulties controlling anger and or aggressive behavior, confusion, disorientation, dizziness, difficulty processing and slow response time, impatience, anxiety or agitation, seizures, headaches, or fatigue. And on this particular card, it has my name, my emergency contact's phone number, and it says this is from the law office of Decado and Kaplan. It's called brainlaw.com. If you are interested, you get it for free. You just got to go there and get yourself a card. This helps me out tremendously when I travel. First thing I do to the stewardess, I give them this card, tell them to read it. So just in case anything goes on in the plane, they know that I'm not trying to be crazy with it. It's just this is how it is in life. So when you had that incident with that, waiter, I get it. Okay, now I got some comments on here. Donna Dunkley likes your story, so she's coming up with a lot of stuff. So let's see what she has to say to us, sir. She said, "A little child shall lead them." The Bible said, "The child help you walk again, or help you to walk, but you did it. Keep speaking good over yourself."
Yes. Every day.
Next thing she says, "Always be positive." And the last part she says here says, "Love your attitude, Robert." Yeah, you're infectious with your attitude, bro.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Donna. Thank you for participating and giving us information
Donna.
for the show. So, Robert, let me ask you something, man. I know you're an athlete. I know like you said, you played baseball. I know you said you was one of the Pepsi singers. You did a lot of stuff to contribute to society. But what got you into being a bodybuilder? What is that all about? Talk to us about that, sir.
Well, actually, after my first 6 months of lifting weights, I wanted to bodybuild. And then I wanted to compete. I'm a person that likes to have a finish, So for me, the finish would be competing in a competition. But I asked the people that invited me to compete if they had an adaptive class for people like you and I. And they said they didn't. So my first year, I lost 6 times. And when I say lost, I mean was last 6 times. And I thought about, is this the thing that I want to stick with? And I had to pray on that, because I said, if the ministry is going to talk to motivate people, it's sure rough motivating myself being last every time. Well, last year was my second year, and it was so motivating. I won 6 times last year, was in first place. And that's when I became the first bodybuilder in the world that had 50% to win a competition with everybody else. But not only that, but I was able to speak more to people that were promoters. And so now it's becoming a positive because there are so many adaptive, natural bodybuilding classes that you can compete in throughout the United States.
Robert, you're an amazing person. You do a lot of amazing stuff. And I know I'm just even
Thank you.
scratching the surface of what you actually do. But I'm getting this sense, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm getting the sense that you really don't do this for yourself. You do this for others that can't speak up for themselves and to be a role model and to actually glorify God. Am I
That's
right with
right.
that? Or
150%. You're
okay,
150% because Paul said in the Bible, let me decrease so that God may increase. And so people think that with me getting bigger with my body naturally, that I did it because I want to win. But I told people, and I still tell people, I compete so that others can know they can win. And if I decrease and let God increase, that gives me an opportunity to speak his word. And God's given me the door. And so I've continuously opened it, whether it be asking for adaptive classes so others could compete, or if it's just being able to backstage when there's 1,000 people from all different classes of bodybuilding, men and women, that I can just tell them my story, to let them know that you can make it through. You can make your life, no matter what the situation, beyond period. It's karma. And I want people to live that and understand. Just somebody told me the other day, and I really never thought about it. She said, I remember in basketball, following Kobe Bryant, they said he had the what's it called? The snake
like
mentality,
Mamba.
the black mamba. And she told me, she said, I guess that God has given you the karma, you know, mentality. And so that's what I want to do. I just want to share to everybody that if I can do it, you can do it. You can do better than me.
Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that because, for a lot of us activists, you know, people, a lot of people are stuck in very negative places, and they will say, "Well, you're like you were saying before. People think you're getting bigger just so you can win competition. It's not about that. Like people will say to me, you milking this stroke survivor stuff. I'm like, I don't know who want to milk or take advantage of saying that I'm a stroke survivor. That's the last thing I want to do.
That's
I don't
right.
want to talk about this stuff, but I have seen people that can't walk, that can't talk, that every 5 seconds they'll ask you the same question over and over again. I've seen
Yes.
people in bad places, and I know that I have a gift that
Yes.
I can speak to people, I can interview people, I can bring out other people's stories. So I do this not for myself because I really don't. I'm trying to curve what I'm trying to say here. I really don't try to do this to make myself feel better. It does, but I do it for the glory of helping other people get their story out. That's what
Yes.
I'm actually doing. And your motivation, like you said, you're not doing it for yourself. You're decreasing yourself so God could be more abundant, to be more abound. I get that. So,
Yeah.
what do you say when people um, come to you with negative things as a stroke survivor and say that you are trying to do this or trying to do that, and they don't see what you're trying to do? How do you handle that as a stroke survivor instead of going to those dark depressional states?
Usually it's with a smile, because a lot of people don't understand us. And what I tell people is, people ask me, well, if you had a stroke, why are you smiling all the time? Or if you can't walk right, why are you always saying that when you fell it, you laughed at it? And I tell people, it goes back to my grandmother. When I was a kid, I was at church with my grandmother, with all my family, and I was standing next to my grandmother, and an older church mother walked up to my grandmother and said, "Baby, how you doing today?" And my grandmother said, "Baby, I didn't wake up dead this morning, so I'm doing all right." And I've had that mentality ever since. And now I carry that into my stroke.
I get it. I get it. And I don't see it as your grandma has put it to you. I just look at it as like this is the best thing that ever happened to me. That's why I'm
Mine
smiling. That's
too.
why I do this every day. I get up because before, and I don't know how your life was, but before, I thought I was good. You know, I had 3 houses, 2 rental properties, and when I lived with my then wife, my children, I used to take first class flights. My children take first class flights. My ex-wife take first class flights. My ex-wife didn't have to work. You know, life was great, but I wasn't at peace. I wasn't happy. Now, Robert, I don't have none of that stuff. I have a quarter of what I used to make before, but I'm happy. I'm at peace.
Yes. Yes.
My body doesn't work the way it used to, but I don't really care about that right now. I have learned something that is so important that most people are missing. Life, the moment, the present, being
Yes.
alive.
Yes. I am that way.
Talk about that story with you, brother. What is that for you, man? What I just said. You know, you said yes. So how does that actually equate for you?
Well, because you know what? When you're a sports agent and you're representing NFL ball players and you're sitting with family in the family section, and when you're back behind, you know, the stadium, and you're, you know, everybody's asking for autographs, and I've signed footballs, okay, the same ones that you know, the pros have signed, because kids see me with the players. And to everybody else, that, and being in the military, to everybody else, they thought that was the best thing. You know, you've made it to the top, you're the best, and you're running marathons. But I was not at peace. I was in a terrible marriage, and I would sleep 3 hours a night. And, you know, I'm flying all over the United States. And another example is, sometimes I would go to the game, and because I'm sitting in the family section next to the Mannings and next to my players' mom and dad, I'm fighting not to fall asleep. So to everybody else, with me in a suit and a tie, you've reached it as a man of color, as a you know, a younger person. You've made it. But I had not made it at all. And I tell people, the fact that I pick up my kids, my 13-year-old, and I'm able to take him home from school and ask him how his day was. See, I have a daughter that is 36. And so she didn't get to see that with dad. What she saw was all the pro football games, or me saying I'm going to Saudi Arabia for 3 months, or that's what she saw. My 2 sons now get to see me be a daddy. You know, I get to be a better son for my mother. I'm a better friend, because at one time I didn't have enough time to talk to you about your situation. Why? Because I got a call from somebody, or the United States, I got to be in, you know, I'm waking up tomorrow and we're flying over here. I didn't have time to hear your story, your situation. I was not much of a friend. But now I have this thing called peace. Peace. My stroke has slowed me down. I remember this. The funniest thing is not funny, but it is funny. I used to come home from my town, from the base, from the military, from working. My house was on the golf course. I was making good money. But what I would do is I would start taking my clothes off as I was running upstairs. Then I change into running. I run down these steps, and I go out my back door. And we had a 3-mile track walking area around my neighborhood. And after my stroke, my mother was pushing me in a wheelchair. And we had gone to my next door neighbor's house. And I said, Mom, they have tulips. I said, Mom, I've been living next to them for 1.5 years. And I did not even know that they had tulips. Beautiful, beautiful tulips. Because I was moving too fast. Well, God had a way to slow me down.
Because my life was the same exact way as yours, man. Like every story you say, exactly like mine. I'm being completely serious right now. I'm sorry, I just had to just chime in on that. Go ahead, sir.
No, so you understand. You understand. To everybody else, I look together, but inside by myself, I used to tell people I was not my own best friend. I wasn't my own best friend, you know. But let everybody else tell me I was a perfect man, but I really wasn't.
I get that. It's like after the stroke, I've learned to become completely honest with myself and with the other people, and also not to talk, but to talk to listen. And that has been a change and dramatic shift in my life.
Yes.
I have one more question, then we need to close out the show. So I have this question. Lionheart Lopes, what's up, Jason? How you doing, sir? He has a question for you. Do you have any regrets, Robert?
Actually, no. As a matter of fact, I thank God every day for my stroke because it has allowed me to be a husband and to be a great husband. It has allowed me to be. My mother ended up My mother ended up with lung cancer. So my mother has moved to Illinois and had moved from where I grew up in Kentucky. And so this week, I'm going to take her to get her treatment. And my mother's is coming up on 80. I would not have been able to do that had I been caught up in everything else. So I'm so happy that God slowed me down.
We've been putting prayers out for your mother, but I could really, man, I think everything you say is like hitting home for me. Because like I had to slow down, but I have the opportunity now. I live with my mother in the summertime and my dad in Jamaica in the wintertime. And did I say that right? Summertime, mother, New York, wintertime, dad, Jamaica. And it's just amazing that I get to see my parents in their twilight years, just to see who they are, how they really are, without me being a child, without me, them being a mother, being a father. They could be my friends. I could really see how they live, and it's beautiful. So yes, slowing down just to be able to enjoy this process is a beautiful thing. But now, Robert, we have come to the end of our show. But before we close out, I have my hot seat questions. So it is hot seat question time, sir. Are you ready for your hot seat questions?
Yes.
All right. So I got 6 questions for you. I'm going to ask you a question. And when you're done, just say, Greg, next question. At the end of these hot seats questions, I'm going to close out the show and leave it for you. I want you to close out the show. Give us any information about you, how we can find you, any information that you want to motivate people with, any websites, whatever. The show will be yours. So, are you ready, Robert?
I'm ready.
Let's go. First question is on the screen. How did you get out of the darkness?
A lot of prayer. And my wife was my biggest cheerleader. Her and my mother were the biggest cheerleader that I'd ever had, more than any sport that I'd ever been involved with.
You didn't say next question, sir.
Next question, Greg.
All right. Here's your next question. What was the hardest part of your stroke recovery?
Learning patience. We are not in a world of patience. You know, My example is we've gone from a stove top family to a microwave family. Why? Because it's quicker. For me, the hardest thing was slowing down to learn, to relearn, and to enjoy. Next question, Greg.
All right, sir. We're rolling now. Question number 3. What advice would you give a caregiver in their first year of stroke recovery?
I would say the same with them with patience. Knowing the patience. It's sometimes hard to see somebody your age or somebody older than you that you love and you care, and just right around the corner they were just running and laughing and joking. Understand that we go through moments, we have our ups and downs. Just be patient and understand that we are trying the best and that we love you for being there next to us. Next question, Greg.
All right, we're rolling, sir. Question number 4. What do you want people to know that is not easy for a young stroke survivor to explain?
That a lot of times I'm the only one. I am the minority amongst minorities. The numbers of the stroke survivor is 70 to 75. I had mine at 31. So for a long time, and still to this day, people don't understand what I go through. Just because I'm younger, I'm struggling just the same. Next question, Greg.
I love that answer. Question number 5. What misconception do people have about stroke survivors?
Woo. The biggest for me is to think that the people have had is that I cannot think for myself. I've had so many people try to finish my sentences. I have aphasia. That does not, I'm college educated. So just let this sentence go because I'm trying to finish it. But every time you end it, that makes me more angry. So you got to understand that I'm disabled. I'm not foolish. Next question, Greg.
I don't want to leave that question. I think I want you to dive into that a little bit harder. I never had aphasia, but I have heard that people that has aphasia, they know exactly what they want to say from A to Z, but they're getting caught at D. Somewhere or another, D won't come out, and that process is they're thinking it through, and by you interrupting them and or finishing them their sentence, it's frustrating because they was about to do it and then you just shut off their whole entire process. Is that right? What am I saying here?
100%.
So don't do it, guys. Like Robert says, be patient with us. Let us speak. We do not have a problem with thinking or processing what you said to us. We just have a problem sometimes getting it back out. All right. Last and final question. What did the threat of death teach you?
That every day that you're alive is a gift. God has given you this gift and he wants you to work for him and understand that you can reach out and touch somebody else. And it's like the gospel song that says, reach out and touch somebody's hand. It'll make a better place for you and I. And that's what we've got to learn how to do. It taught me to slow down, sometimes shut up, and just pray, praise, and worship.
Man, you stuck in the zone. You forgot to even say, Greg, I'm finished with my question. Sir, I thank you so much. I think we have a couple more comments, so I want to read them out before we close out the show. We have this one from Vicky. It says, hi, Brady. I spoke to you last year regarding my son having a stroke while serving in the Army. You were so charmed, or I guess a charming person.
Oh,
do you remember Vicky? If you don't,
yes, I do. Yes, I do.
There you go. And once again, hi, Brady. I spoke with you I don't know if she said this twice, but let's see what is saying it. I spoke with you last year regarding my son having a stroke while serving in the Army. You were so helpful and such an inspiration. Your attitude is so positive and amazing.
Oh, thank you. Tell her I want you to contact me again. Haven't talked to you in a while. I'd love to talk to you. Find out how your son is.
Well, you
You're a
heard
great
that, Vicky.
president.
You heard that, Vicky. Get in touch with the man. So we are at the end of our show. I thank for everybody that came out. If you are watching us on YouTube, please subscribe and like and share this particular page. If you're on Facebook, you could go to YouTube at AVM Superhero and like and subscribe to this particular channel. I thank you so much. And now I'm going to leave Robert with you guys so he could close the show and give you all the love and information that he wants to give you. Bye, everybody. AVM Superhero out.
Once again, my name is Robert Brady Johnson. You can look up Brady Johnson Stroke on the internet, and you can learn more about me and my struggles and my reaching where I've gone to and how I've learned how to walk. I've written a book called A Life of Commas, A Soldier's Story. You can get that anywhere in the world. You can get on the internet. You can get it on Amazon, and anybody that wants to be my friend that needs somebody to talk to or needs a little spark, look me up on Robert Brady Johnson on Facebook.
Thank you so much for coming out, Robert. I really appreciate you. Hold on, don't go anywhere. But everybody else, we bid you guys good night. We thank you so much for checking us out, and be safe, be well. Like Robert said, if you have any questions for him, contact him. If you have any questions for me, you know where to find me as well. Thank you guys. Love you guys. AVM Superhero out.